Two men who used coded references to chainsaws, car parts and other items in a bid to outwit possible police surveillance of their drug operation have been jailed. Since their arrest 4 years ago, Clint Helmbright and Lewis Paddon had faced two trials in the High Court in Wellington. Last December, Helmbright was jailed for 12.5 years after being found guilty at trial of dealing a variety of drugs, including methamphetamine, cannabis and BZP. Today, an extra 10 months was added to that term, following his conviction at his second trial in June on 15 other counts relating to dealing methamphetamine. Paddon was jailed for 7 years, having been found guilty in June of supplying a total of 168 grams of methamphetamine to Helmbright. Our court reporter Anne-Marie May filed this report.
The jailing of Clint Helmbright and Lewis Paddon brings to an end Operation Nebraska, a police investigation which began in 2013. Justice Thomas said there were several aggravating features to their offending, including premeditation and clandestine meetings.
Mr. Paddon was particularly cautious in his communications and alive to the possibility of being surveyed. They used codes to discuss the methamphetamine to be supplied. Mr. Helmbright then used different codes when discussing his drug dealing activities with his runners.
The Crown lawyer Emma Light said there was no evidence Lewis Paddon was a heavy user of methamphetamine, selling the drug to support his own habit, and nor was Clint Helmbright.
While it's accepted he was using, his network clearly went beyond simply supporting his own habit. In my submission, that does aggravate matters, that this was a commercial business for profit, not simply to sustain a habit.
Helmbright's lawyer Eric Forster said the court must recognise the lengthy jail term already imposed on his client in December and the fact Helmbright was making a good fist of his time in prison.
He hasn't offended since the 80s. He's capable of reform. Maybe there's a diminishing return by having him in custody for longer at the taxpayer's expense.
Paddon's lawyer Brian Yeoman said his client had no previous convictions for this kind of drug dealing and his offending was a significant fall from grace for a man who had enjoyed business success.
He's been a panel beater most of the time, and the variety of things that he has done in his life and the business enterprises that he's been in show a man of some considerable talent, and that is sad from his point of view that he now comes before the court to be sentenced in relation to this offending.
Mr Yeoman said Paddon should be given credit for remorse, but Justice Thomas said that was not appropriate.
Not only was there no plea of guilty, but his not guilty plea was maintained over 2 trials. That does not suggest any real remorse. It is also difficult to reconcile Mr Paddon's professed abhorrence for methamphetamine with his offending.
The judge also declined to impose minimum sentences on the men as requested by the Crown. For Checkpoint, Anne-Marie May.